Okay, good morning everyone. Let's draw another coffee cup. So just getting my gouache palette open, and here's the notebook. I'm not using watercolor paper, so I've got to use this plexiglass behind it. It is good toned, I think it's toned charcoal paper. Anyway, I like working on all different types of surfaces. So I'm looking up, I made an album of all the coffee cups people have submitted for me to paint or sketch. And this is Karinina H's darling little Diva mug. So let's start with that. I use these little pipettes to wet just the parts of my palette where I know I'm going to be using the colors. And I always keep my white on that extra little dish there. So I'll show you a big boo-boo coming up here. My paint is too wet. I should have waited a few minutes for the water to absorb into it. So you can see I have this messy, wet, gushy, the paint's not holding together. Anyway, I want to show you all the mistakes that I make because that's part of the process too. Gives me an opportunity to figure out how I'm going to fix what I messed up. Ugh, look at that paint. What a mess. That's not the beautiful, velvety, soft gouache layer that I intended. But I'm just going with it. So here I dried it with my heat gun, which normally in my regular painting I don't use dryers at all, but for these little morning sketches, just to get them done, I'm resorting to that. So now this is a much nicer, typical velvety, rich, pigmented gouache layer. So see, you can redeem anything. In fact, I love the theme of redemption in books and movies, literature, life. It's a good one. I also have come to realize that in my cups, I tend to always, they're always a little lopsided. It's like the right side is more curved and the left side not as much. So anyway, something I'm going to have to remain aware of. So interesting watching yourself paint, because normally I don't, only if I videotape it, and you really learn, you learn a bit. It's kind of fascinating. Okay, good to check back with your reference photo once in a while. Okay, dried it one more time. And here we go with my crazy little Fude pen, which I introduced in yesterday's episode 1 of this little coffee cup series. Once again, it's a little bit scratchy. Once again, this is charcoal paper and the gouache. So between the two, it doesn't just glide smoothly over, but that's kind of the cool part, I think. And this is platinum carbon waterproof ink that I filled. The original little cartridge in this pen did not have waterproof ink, so I filled it with. See how that left side is more rounded? I didn't know I did that, but I do. So for these little polka dots, I could have painted them on, but I just thought, oh, I think it'll be easier and a little more mixed media fun if I pull out my Caran d'Ache water-soluble crayons. These are not your kindergarten Crayolas. These are really quite amazing, and the price point proves it. But they're fabulous pens. So I'm choosing a color a little bit lighter than what shows up in the picture, and that's called Artistic License. So I picked up two blues. This one actually ended up being a little bit more periwinkle color, lighter. And then I pulled out, I think it was a Prussian blue. Anyway, you'll see me use that in a minute. I'm not totally thrilled with how I spaced the letters. I wish I had had them a little more, as in the photograph, over to the left. But anyway, this is what my brain did. Cutest little cup. And there's a nice shadow there, and you see where there's a little bit of a little space there that indicates that the handle is also cast. Anyway, just indicated that a little bit with the crayon. And now I'm going in with the my white charcoal pencil. Look how those really make the highlights stand out. So I'm lowering the I and the V a little bit because the lettering would really follow the curvature of the cup. I didn't pick that up first time. So now I'm feeling like the blue is a little flat for the decoration there. So I'm going in, grabbing a couple blues. I think it's cerulean and maybe ultramarine with some white, and just adding a little more brightness. Didn't like that dark crayon too much. Same thing with the little dots. They needed something. Date stamp. Adding a little more white gouache up there and then just smoothing it in a bit. It's always interesting at this point, you know, how much more do I want to do it? You can see me, I'm still fussing with it, still trying to figure out how can I make it a little more interesting. And, you know, these are just teeny little sketches, so at some point you just have to call it quits. This is what I usually do when it's like, I think I'm finished, but I'm not sure. Just splatter some paint. When all else fails, splatter. And there we go. I think I decided it was done at this point. Okay, so here's the final picture, final little sketch. And here are some supplies I used. My white gouache in a little dish. And here's my gouache palette, which I talked about yesterday. I just fill it with various brands of gouache. And here are the few things I used today: brushes, food pen, charcoal, and some Caran d'Ache. All right, come take a class with me. Have a great day.